Welcome back everyone, Steve! Sanji is not who you think he is. What? No, I'm not talking about his devilishly good-looking eyebrows, his sexy haircut, or his thinking ways. Those are all real.
Sussy baka.
Today, we are talking about Sanji's mysterious power. No, not his power to hit women. Come on guys, he was innocent.
No.
Oh my god! I'm talking about Sanji's fire kicks that bodied a 9,000-pound cyborg dinosaur scientist. These flames can't be just friction of his kicks, right? Yeah. So that's why we'll be going over Sanji's lunarian theory everyone has been yapping on about.
Hold up.
Okay, so chapter 1035 begins with the conclusion to Sanji's fight against Queen. My guy's attack was so powerful that it completely KO'd Queen, breaking his teeth and sending him flying out the castle. Now, I'm pretty sure Queen didn't fall down from the sky, cause if he did, he's dead. So what the heck just happened? Doesn't Queen have a bounty over 1.3 billion? Being a modified cyborg with a rare broken ass devil fruit who can also use all of Germa's 66 unique abilities? How did Sanji do this?
Smoke weed.
Well, accepting the changes in his body of having exoskeleton-like steel with his muscle and speed increasing drastically, Sanji realized that with his armament haki, his leg will be strong enough to support even hotter flames, possibly even hot as magma. I'll explain more about that later on, but basically my guy just amped up the temperature and cooked Queen alive. And after finding out that Queen was actually the one who attacked the girl Osame, Sanji was fired up to take revenge on her behalf, which more than likely gave him another boost in firepower. But the thing is, Sanji's dialogue in chapter 1034 gave us the indication that he is creating these flames and has control over its temperature. If Sanji's flames were created by, let's say, friction, then his control over it would be limited. Also, unlike Luffy, Sanji doesn't have rubber skin, which would burn due to friction. You know, that would explain his red hawk and whatnot. So in Sanji's case, where the heck are these flames popping up from? Well, this is where we come to the theory that Sanji has lunarian DNA in his lineage factor. I have already explained how Sanji, alongside his brothers, was genetically manipulated by their father Windsmoke Judge during their early future stages. As a result, each sibling obtained physical enhancement and a unique devil fruit-like ability. Sanji, due to the drug their mother took during the pregnancy, was the only child to have shown no signs of these genetic modifications. But now, either due to his suit or other reasons, the drug's effect has worn off, making his body like that of his siblings. No, not exactly like them, because you know, he still has his emotions, you know, for now. But for reals though, I'm sure Chopper and even Law will have a go at looking at Sanji's changes and make it so that he doesn't lose his emotions, hopefully. But coming back to the point, initially I was thinking that Sanji might have the power of invisibility, as his siblings' unique ability is a base state that their suit enhances. For instance, Niji has the power of electricity, and his raid suit would either enhance his power or give him an extension to it. Likewise with his other siblings, even with their sister Reiju. However, with that said, the possibility of Sanji's unique ability was always to produce fire still makes a lot of sense. Sanji's suit giving him invisibility doesn't negate that. In fact, his suit follows a theme similar to King's. Being fully blacked out not only heats but also regulates hot temperature better. Now I know this raises the question that if Sanji's flames are part of his genetic modification, then how come he was able to use it pre-time skip and before he unlocked the rest of his powers? Well, it could be that Oda is progressively building his story, but if I have to fill in the gaps, then likely this part of his genetic was the first one to to unravel as his mother's drugs slowly wore out. The more the drug's effect dissipated, the more Sanji's original genetic enhancements started to show. Now we have more evidence and clues to this story going into exactly how King's DNA and fire ability was embedded into Sanji's lineage factor. But I will explain that in a bit, as we have to link everything back to King's backstory, which was also revealed in this chapter.
Finally!
So coming back to Sanji, after dealing with Queen, he does what he does best. You know, slides into those DMs. No, seriously, he goes to Osame, who shows her gratitude to him for saving her mouse, Chuji. This interaction gives Sanji a flashback to his childhood, when he used to cook for mice, which we saw in chapter 880. Now, just before Sanji asks Osame if she is okay, he collapses, showing that he's all burnt out. Oda ends the scene with his classic overview stating Sanji is the winner. Now, a key note I wanted to point out is that this chapter title is Zoro vs King, following the same motif of the previous chapter, Sanji vs Queen, and chapter 1020, Robin vs Black Maria, meaning this is the conclusion of both Sanji's and Zoro's fight. The next chapter could very well be Zoro's victory transitioning onto Luffy's fight with Kaido.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Seriously though, following this theme, it's likely that the last chapter of Luffy's fight with Kaido will be titled Luffy vs Kaido. With that, we move on to Zoro's battle, where he has just managed to make King bleed after coating all three of his blade in Conqueror's haki. As I've said many times, we have seen this with the likes of Odin, Whitebeard, and even Goldie Roger himself. Now Zoro's attack not only managed to cut King's face, but it also seems to have sliced another part of his mask. If you guys remember back in chapter 1027, Zoro chopped off the top part of King's mask, revealing his hair. But now with this strike, King's mask has finally fallen. Zoro has also figured out how King's flame power works. Basically, when the flames on King's back disappears, he moves very fast. In exchange, during this time, his defense is much weaker. Now, this kind of does play on to Sanji's fight with Queen, as he himself needed to enhance his body, making it strong and durable enough to hold the hotter flames. There are some clear parallels between Sanji and King during their fight, from Queen even mentioning to Sanji and asking him his relation to the Lunarians, and then now later King's backstory. But anyways, at this point, King then rips off his shredded mask, revealing his entire face for the first time. We see King with his brown toned skin, a unique tattoo around his left eye, and his long white luscious hair. He's definitely using some premium brand shit. Honestly, this guy looking sexy.
I don't be on no gay shit at all, bro, but this particular nigga right here, bro, that's one sexy ass nigga. Bro, if I was a girl, legs wide open, bro.
Witnessing King's face for the first time, all of the Beast pirate subordinates around the battle starts to gossip, and it turns out that there is a 100 million berry bounty on anyone who has information on black wings, white hair, brown skin, basically a Lunarian. King, overhearing them, even though they wouldn't dream to snitch, he decides not to take any chances and attacks them with his Imperial Dragon, literally scorching them alive. What I don't understand is, did these lot not see what Zoro and King were doing? They couldn't even withstand the haki radiating off Zoro, and they can't think to just leave King's presence after seeing his face. Now, all of this is some crazy information about King and his race. Robin, as a survivor of Ohara, someone who knows the ancient language and has the ability to uncover the Void Century, had a bounty of 80 million dead or alive. And King, just to be notified of any information about his race, gets 100 million berries bounty. What? Like what? Now, what could this mean? Well, on the surface, King and his race are probably a bigger threat to the government and Umusama's rule than even the revelation of the poneglyph and the world history. But something more interesting could be that King's DNA is of greater value. And moving a little further into the chapter, we see a snippet of King's flashback after Zoro tells him that you guys had your time on the top. Now you gotta make room for us. In response, King declares that Kaido will be the next pirate king and Zoro shouldn't get ahead of himself. With this idea of Kaido being the next pirate king, we see a flashback of when Kaido recruited King for the very first time. King is seen as a teenager, being a prisoner in Punk Hazard with Kaido. Now, the reason I'm suggesting it's Punk Hazard is because all of the world government's secret experiment and research station were located there. This flashback might be occurring 33 years ago, as in chapter 962, we learn learned that Kaido and the other remnants of Rock's crew were gathering members for their own fleet during this time. We also know that after the God Valley incident, Rox was defeated and Kaido later was captured, where at some point his lineage factor was taken by Dr. Vegapunk. We also know that MADS, the illegal scientific research team, were a threat to the world government, and during that time it's likely members from Vegapunk, Caesar and Queen were captured forcibly to work for the government. After recruiting King, it's likely Kaido made his connection to Queen. But coming back to this flashback, as Kaido is about to escape, he finds King strapped in a machine for some kind of experiment. Kaido tells King that he's a lunarian and the government will never let him go. Kaido asks him to join his new crew that he's creating. King agrees to join the crew with the promise that Kaido will one day change the world. Now, seeing the young Kaido's interaction with King is quite amazing. After finding out King's real name is Arbor, we see a side of Kaido that truly makes him a captain. He tells King that he has the power worthy of a stronger name, so call yourself King and stand by me and I will never sell you out. Now, throughout this small flashback, we are given a lot of important information, like the reason there is a 100 million berry bounty on any information towards Lunarian is because King might have been the only surviving member of his race, making them extremely rare. Also, Kaido noted that the government was putting King through an endurance test, meaning they were torturing him, seeing how much he can withstand. Kaido snatched him out of Punk Hazard, so this experiment, which could have likely become the key to the world government's rule even in the new world, was never materialized. Just like how Kuma was the key to the Pacifista and the Emergence destroying the warlord system, the Lunarians could be the key to perhaps a power that could even topple an emperor. Now this brings us back to our Sanji Lunarian theory, likely similar to taking Kaido's lineage factor and imprinting it into a devil fruit we all know was eaten by Momo. What I'm trying to say here is that King's lineage factor was also stolen, or at least some part of it, and then later found by Windsmoke Judge, who used King's lineage factor to create his own soldiers. In isolation, the endurance Sanji and his siblings obtained could be from a steel exoskeleton which was derived from the Lunarian base state. Obviously other shit was mixed into these genetic modifications, but out of all his siblings, Sanji might have been the only one to unlock the Lunarian flames. The only possible reasoning I can come up with is because Sanji's emotions was intact, which likely influences the flames to rise from a Lunarian's body. But all in all, there are so many clues and hints that Oda's trying to push that Sanji might have Lunarian DNA, meaning one day Sanji might even grow black wings with a new drip. Okay, so coming back to the chapter, Zoro literally just straight up asks King that, you want to tell me about your race? Like, come on, the government's interested in your kind? Give me some information, But King responds telling Zoro that he doesn't need to know because he's about to be dead. And now at this point, we finally get to see King's transformation into his Petrodon form, and he looks like, bro, he looked sexy. Now he just looks like kind of ugly. Can't lie to you. I'm not trying to shame him, but that transformation ain't it. But as he flies off and attacks Zoro using his aerial advantage, Zoro impressively blocks every incoming attack. After all, this is the new and improved Zoro, but he notes that he doesn't have much time as his sword is about to kill him. They're sucking out his haki dry. However, King is also at his limits, so both of them have to go all out for the final showdown. Zoro begins with his King of Hell, free sword style Purgatory Onigiri. But because King had his flames on, his defense is impeccable and the attack didn't do any damage. In response, King shoots out his Imperial Flaming Dragon, where Zoro even states that this fire is like magma. To put things into perspective, magma is extremely hot, being around 1300 to 2372 Fahrenheit, which speaks testament to Sanji's potential. Now, as Zoro weaves around the fire dragon, King attacks him with his sword, which Zoro manages to block. King's sword then turns into Inosuke's blade from Demon Slayer and literally tries to disarm Zoro of his sword, but Zoro this time is aware and is like, nope, you ain't taking these swords, and with all his strength frees his swords from King's. But as he was struggling to take his swords back, King flies at him at high speed. However, Zoro realizes this is his chance to attack, as figuring out earlier in the chapter that when King doesn't have flames on his back and speeds up, his defense is weaker and he can be caught. Zoro takes this opportunity and hits him with a Yokodori, meaning bird dance, getting a nice slice of King as he dodges his attack. King, who starts bleeding, goes on the defense, with Zoro continuing his attack. Zoro then taunts King, asking if he's afraid to receive his attacks because, they actually have an effect against him now. King in response transforms into his Tetradon form, flying into the air whilst telling Zoro that his kind is inferior. And this type of language King is using reminds me of Kaido when he's telling Yamato how she's above the humans. She's an Oni, so why is she helping them and wants to take after Odin, a man instead of her own Oni people. This honestly furthers the evidence that the Lunarians were wiped out by the world government, just like the continent pullers which Kaido and the Onis are likely referring to. They are the last of their people, whom the humans and the world government have persecuted for centuries, driving them from their homes and experimenting on them. That's more than likely one of the main reasons, other than strength, Kaido decided to make King his right-hand man and the first member of the Beast Pirates. And to prove his worthiness of this title, King prepares his final attack against Zoro, a massive Imperial Flame Guardian Dragon, which towers Zoro in size and scale. But Zoro isn't phased in the slightest as he jumps forward, preparing his final attack as well. King of Hell, free dragon style 103 senses, swording Jingoku Dragon. As both their attack clashes, Zoro leaves a trail of black conqueror's haki lightning as he cuts through King's dragon and his right wing. King is shocked by this feat but is struck by the lightning that Zoro produces from his conquerors and is then seen falling towards the ground. Not only was Zoro fast enough and strong enough, Zoro looked like he has slain the dragon, similar to how Ryuma killed the dragon in his time during the story Monster, from the special one-shot volume Oda created called Wanted. Now again, this special was actually canon, meaning this parallel is very intentional. Even though Oda came out and pretty much debunked Ushimaru Shimotsuki being Zoro's father, the fact remains that Zoro could still and is more than likely related to Ryuma through his descendants. Maybe the Green Bull theory is right after all. Make sure to check out the video we did exclusively on Zoro's family as we explain his background and the Shimotsuki family. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe and ding the notification bell if you haven't. Till then guys, we'll catch you lot next time.